Hi, today we'll discuss a few growth strategies in the following video. So, a lot of times while you are solving cases, either as a whole case or as part of the sub case, you are asked to figure out how to increase the sales or how to make the company grow, how to map that out. So, right now I'll share 6 different strategies with you. Not all 6 of them would be applicable in all the cases. We'll have to see what our particular context is and apply a few of them. We'll use a very neat acronym for that, which is MAP PAD. How I remember it is that we basically have to get our pad to map out our growth, right? So 6 different strategies applying to all of these 6 alphabets. Now, before we start discussing each of these strategies, imagine that if you have someone who's asking you for advice that they want to earn $1 million in the, let's say, next 5 years. Before you start giving them any advice, you would want to understand what their station is right now in life, right? What their capabilities are, where they stand, how much money do they have currently, before you can tell them whether their aims are practical or not, and how to go about achieving them. It's the same case with a company. If a company wants to achieve a specific sale target, you would want to first understand about the company a little more. You might also want to understand a little more about the whole surrounding, the environment, the business environment in which you're situated before you go and jump into any of these strategies, right? So always clarify points on those things, understanding a little more about the product, the company, maybe even the customers, and a little more about the business environment in which we are located. All right. So now let's look at MapDAP. Okay. So the first strategy that we have here is marketing. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward, though we'll do a different video on marketing also. So marketing, you will have to take care of the channel, the customer's preference for a particular channel, and what time and what kind of resources you want to deploy for marketing. Right. The second strategy that we have is what is known as attack and attract. I mean, that is how I call it. So imagine that you are a taxi aggregator, something like a Ola or a Uber, and right now you are only based in metro cities in India, right? So the second strategy of attack and attract would basically mean that you have to figure out what particular population segment in the whole country is not using your product at all. So in this case, it might be tier 2, tier 3 cities that you might want to attack and attract towards your services. Okay, so that basically means reaching out to customers who have no idea about your product, who don't know who they are, to turning them into a customer of your product. All right. Now, the next point we have here is P, which is basically price change. All right. A lot of people actually end up jumping to price change as their first option, which I would ask you to avoid doing. That will only happen, price change as a strategy is only useful if we know how elastic the product is, right? So price change is one. It usually is helpful, but with a caveat that the product and the customers need to be understood quite well. The fourth strategy is about product differentiation. Okay, we'll cover a couple of things here just after a while. So I'll just ask you to leave it for now. Just remember, fourth is product differentiation. The fifth is basically acquisition. The A stands for acquisition. I think that's quite straightforward. If you're in a market, you want to grow, you find that there's a certain bottleneck because of a large number of players, you might want to acquire one of them. In this case, there are basically 3 things that you have to be extremely careful about. The first would be, are there players even available for you to buy? Right? You can't give acquisition as a possible strategy if there are no players for you to buy. The second would be the resources. Do you have sufficient resources to actually buy that player out, or can you acquire those resources to acquire that player? And the third would be the regulatory environment, right? So there might be more considerations about whether the companies make for a good match or not in terms of their culture and everything. But these are the 3 main factors. And in terms of regulations, you have organizations like the Competition Commission of India, which basically have certain rules regarding preventing monopolies. So acquisition always has that caveat. The last thing that you will have to do is look at your distribution channels. So sometimes you find that though your product is well placed and there's sufficient demand for the product, your distribution channel is not in sync with your core customer base. Okay, So you might want to increase the number of distribution channels that you have to simply augment the number of sales, given that you already have a supply of the product to put in the distribution channels. Okay, this also we'll discuss a little more. So now we have two agendas. We have to discuss what product differentiation can mean and what distribution channels can mean. Okay, so when I talk about product differentiation, there are basically two sub strategies that I talk about. Okay, again, let's take the case of Ola and Uber. Okay, so the two kind of product differentiation would be that first is that I'm creating a different product altogether, and the second is that I'm creating a different variety or different flavor of the same product. Okay, so if we talk about Ola, what we have is, in terms of creating a different product altogether, so they were initially a car cab service, right? So they came out with a different product, which was the auto and the shuttle. So that would be venturing out in a different product line. So they will have to build a different model, different incentive system for that. Whereas changing the variety would be the different segments that they have. Okay, so whether they have prime, micro, mini, all these things would constitute to be a different flavor of the same type of product. To take a different example, let us take the case of your favorite brand of perfume. Okay, so strategy one, when they're venturing out in a different product altogether, they might now start making a face cream for shaving purposes. That would be them leveraging on their presence as a cosmetic product already in the market. They're trying to make another product which will be easily suitable for their core demographic. The second option for them in this case is that, okay, we will try to grow our sales in the perfume segment only, but what we'll do is we'll introduce different fragrances in the perfume segment. So I hope that is clear, the two types of product differentiations. In terms of distribution channel, I think it's fairly obvious. What I'll do is, if you can see, we just have shared the MISI here, what the mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive options in this case could be. So in the world that we live in today, the most, I would say the logical kind of MISI would be going for offline versus online. And in both these situations, you might have your own systems in place, or you might have a third party. So let us say in case of the online system, you might want to sell your product through your own website, or you might also want to sell it via sites like Amazon. All right. So here we have discussed the 6 different strategies. Some of these strategies we will see how they play out in different cases, and for stuff like marketing, I'll also cover a separate video. So I hope you found them useful. Keep looking forward to more videos in the coming few days, and I hope you find it really useful. Thank you.